In this episode, we're talking about unlayering our lives.
Mm-hmm.
As they become more complex and multi layered, it's worth taking the time to step back, analyze it, get rid of whatever's weighing us down, and strip down. Whoa, get
Hello,
naked.
baby.
Yep, get nakedly vulnerable. So
Yes.
have a listen to our conversation. So, Jan, while I read this poem, it's among my favorites ever, I'd love for you to visualize it.
Okay.
It's called Shedding Skin by Harriet Mullen. Pulling out of the old scarred skin, old rough thing I don't need now, I strip off, slip out of, leave behind. I slough off dead scales, flick skin flakes to the ground, shedding toughness, peeling layers down to vulnerable stuff. And I'm blinking off old eyelids for a new way of seeing. By the rock I rub against, I'm going to be tender again. So, what do you see, Jan, when you hear those words?
Oh, God. It's what I feel.
Mm,
My body had a visceral reaction. Usually, when I have that visceral reaction, and mine comes from my hamstrings up, it's real interesting. I'm like, okay,
mm,
something's happening here. And what I'm feeling is carrying an old story with me into this new season, and it's truly time to shed those false beliefs.
mm,
Um, it came after 27 years of being married and hearing some of the same old story being spoken out to me. I started to believe it. I behaved in that manner, and I still have that story with me, and it's feeling incapable. And so when you become single, you carry a lot of fucking shit with you. Oh my, and it
for
has truly
sure.
been unlayering. And it's about 5 years I've been divorced, and it's layer after layer after layer. And
Mm,
so the layer this week of letting go, of staying detached, being unafraid, just being
mm,
unafraid, not taking it personally.
yeah.
It's not about me. What I do for me is what I do, but what others around me are doing is on their side of the street. And for so
Mm-hmm.
long, it was so convoluted for me. I stayed on the other side of the street. I jumped into hula hoops that weren't mine to jump into, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't doing the things. I didn't understand what that meant. I was taught that I really wasn't important enough. Everyone else was more important to take care of except me. And that started early childhood. That was not just a marriage thing. That just sort of fell in line with how it all went. And so the unlayering of I am capable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new tender side. I am capable of being vulnerable to the people that I care about. I can be unafraid about it. I can show myself. I can be my true self and know that pain, rejection, joy, all the things come with it. But there's a freedom just being you to those around you. Is that making any kind of sense? I don't know.
Yeah,
Is
I,
it?
I think so. Yeah, I think that there's both that feeling of incompetence and and lacking confidence when you become single. I also did that,
Yeah.
but also there's a confidence that starts to grow in you. That's
Yes.
and I don't think that's just about in marital relationships, but also in life. Like when we realize that we're not feeling very confident in who we are, and then as you do stuff and get better at stuff, you become really confident.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes. You
I know
practice.
I
Yes, you build the
yeah, you
muscles, the
practice.
muscles.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I know when I became single, I began doing all the things I'd ever wanted to do. like, like I was married to somebody who liked to have the bed perfectly made, and I didn't really care about it. So when I was single, I just started like that fresh laundry. I just wad up the sheets and throw them in a drawer. It's like yes.
Oh, good.
Doing
Good.
all the things like going fishing, going dancing, but making decisions and just really feeling compelled to have a fresh outlook and experiencing that, like you called it, that real freedom of
Mm-hmm.
expression of who you are. So I kind of picture that this liberation as kind of being dragging around something that wasn't fitting with me and being a slave to it, and then just kind of letting go of that sled and
I love. Oh,
and then once you know that feeling, you just, I mean, can you help but feel super alive and you just keep tending that feeling? I think it's really important that we stop and ask ourselves, what's blocking me right now? Where do I feel stuck or anxious about myself, about my life? And how can I right my ship? How can I stand that up again and lean it the other way and get my equilibrium back? I don't know.
mm.
Does that resonate with you?
Oh, yes. It goes back to when you were talking about the intro and how the capabilities and what resonates and the fact that we're here now and this is being recorded and we didn't give up and they
Yay!
kept, you just,
Yeah.
the confidence that you do practicing, just keep going. We
Yeah.
regained our equilibrium. It's like, here we are, people. We didn't leave.
Yep.
Oh, but it's funny going back to the poem. Um,
Mm.
when you first read it to me, I did a little bit of research on what happens with a snake when it sheds its skin. And did you know that before it sheds its skin, it can become irritable, nervous, even stop eating?
Wow.
I stopped at that one. I was like, oh, well, that sounds familiar. I can do this.
Yes.
I'm just going through the same thing. And then when it gets a new vibrant layer of skin, it gives itself time to adjust to the
Yeah.
air as it rests in the sun. For me, it just resonated of
Mm.
feeling capable and feeling confident. I've had to adjust to those new feelings and beliefs. It wasn't like, oh yeah, I just picked it up and we went. I mean, it had to resonate. It had to uh, simmer. Then it goes into after the shedding, it can appear dull and have some rough spots. But again, you rest and adjust. You keep working it. I don't know. I'm this whole snake thing. Woo,
That's so awesome.
um,
That, I
uh,
mean, that totally relates to the podcast struggle we've had, and then
yeah,
and we rested and sorted it out and
yeah, we did.
regained our upright ship. you know.
Damn, damn,
Woo.
sister. So, Mary, there's another one. It leaves behind a snake shaped shell and any parasites that may have been attached.
Mm.
Like,
Wow.
holy shit.
It.
Oh,
That is
oh my
something.
God. It's leaving that old story. That's the old story. The
Yeah.
parasites that eat at you, that fear, that uncertainty. I feel like those are parasites because
Hmm.
they stagnate you, they block you, they protect you from the very things that you want. Shedding your layers can feel scary, and I am learning because that word trust keeps popping up into my life. Trusting the process because in nature, snakes shed their skin between 4 and 12 times a year because they
Mm.
outgrow their skin. Seriously?
Do we do that? Maybe we just need to be snakes. Focus on
I
it.
am a snake. I am. I am. Oh, and think about, and then it was even talking about when they're young, it's every 2 weeks they shed their skin. And think about when kids are growing, all the changes that you
Hmm.
experience with your kids. I don't know. I'm so over fascinated. Um, they outgrow the outer layer to make room. They
Yeah.
shed their skin to be more comfortable if their skin is damaged, old, worn out, or doesn't fit anymore.
You know how
What?
that is like when you are trying to remember something, your brain feels too full. You got to shake it out,
Oh,
like
yeah.
get some of this crap out of my head. But I think it's like some of your old experiences, those old
Yes.
stories that
Oh, it
you've
is.
told yourself. What a message for us. And what a challenge it is to discard the things that no longer fit
Mm-hmm.
or what's damaged in us or worn out in us or has given us just a long, wrong story.
Right. It doesn't serve us anymore. It doesn't serve
Yeah, it
us.
doesn't. Yeah. So we understand that you might also have been hanging on to something from your past that you've outgrown. I think we all do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that something has become cumbersome and you're recognizing you need to shed it.
Yeah. Yep. When we shed it, it can make us vulnerable, but it also helps us see more clearly. Because when we're vulnerable, we become more of who we really are. And when we do that, we let more light out into the world. Let the light of our
Yeah.
life shine.
Mm. Yeah, if you've read the story of the Velveteen Rabbit, it's one of my favorite children's stories.
Mm-hmm. It's been
It's
a
about a
minute.
boy. Yeah, it's about this boy who gets a stuffed rabbit for Christmas, and he loves the rabbit so much. I mean, hugging him and holding him. You probably
I've
had
had
that experience
I
with
had one
those
of those.
raw, those raw stuffed animals. Its fur begins to rub off, and he gets more and more worn. And in that whole process, he gets down to his essence and eventually becomes real. And I like picturing that about us. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we could just rub off the things that aren't of importance anymore, if we can identify what frightens us and weighing us down and
Mm.
trust that process of
Mm-hmm.
removing that layer from our lives, then we discover that this rubbing off really helps us become more instead of less, more of who we're meant to be.
Oh,
Would you
yes.
read that poem again, Jan?
Oh,
I love it so much.
yes, I
Ooh.
will. Yes, I will. Pulling out of the old scarred skin, old rough thing I don't need now. I strip off, slip out of, leave behind. I slough off dead scales, flick skin flakes to the ground, shedding toughness, peeling layers down to vulnerable stuff. And I'm blinking off old eyelids for a new way of seeing. By the rock I rub against, I'm going to be tender again.
And so, friend, life has added many layers to you along the way. Identify what frightens you or bogs you down. Let go of that heaviness, those old stories. Give yourself time to adjust to this fresh layer of you. You're not starting over, but you're starting from where you are. Get bold. Shed some skin.
We hope you've had as much fun as we've had learning and growing together. You, my friend, have all the answers you need within you. Stop second guessing yourself, and you will find yourself becoming stronger every single day. Thank you for listening. And remember, you have the power of a do over. Take two at any time.